Hi everyone. It's been a while since I've posted an inspirational or motivational video, and I wanted to spend this time doing so. I've been thinking over the past few weeks, and I think what I've got to share will help some of you who are going through a harder time in life right now. Historically, the weeks between Thanksgiving and Christmas really bring out mental illness, feelings of loneliness, and generally make people feel vulnerable. And so I wanted to share a message of hope as we get through this year's season. What I wanted to start with is just a little snippet of my life that will help sort of frame what I've got to say. It'll help you relate to me, and it'll help you think about what you're going to do with your own life if you think about this video after finish watching it. We've just recently confirmed what I've been saying for the past 4 years, that there's tears in my knee joints. So I'm once again thinking through the logistics of day-to-day living, practical help, and how I'm going to do things in my life, and are there ways that I could do things differently, better, or easier for my body. And it's been an emotional roller coaster. Part of that is the frustration of wanting to make sure I'm dictating my life, and this is opposed to letting a doctor take over my life or let circumstances take over my life, but I'm not giving up. So the phrase not giving up is what I'd sort of like you to take from this sort of section. If we look at your schedule, if we look at your day planner, your commitments, your emails, and your bank statements, your money, your time, and your energy is going to show what matters to you. And for what it's worth, if you haven't done so recently, I would take a time to look back and either confirm you're happy with the direction that your life's going, or else start thinking about changes that you might be able to make. What I'm hinting at is what you're passionate about is going to dictate how you spend your time. Now, I understand that you still need to wash your hair, you still need to do laundry, go to work, but it's the time that you have control over, and it'll help reflect the substance in your life and really what you care about and what you do with what you care about. Some people may find a rude awakening where this time is all about video games. It could be that you're building relationships with the people you're playing the video games with because of the internet, but it's just something to think about, that you're not throwing out the time that you have. So time is like a bank account, except that you can't really deposit it. It's only going to be coming and withdrawing from it as each day passes. I'm not wanting to put you into a panic where time goes by and you shouldn't deprive yourself of sleep, proper nourishment, and hygiene, and spending time doing what's needed to keep yourself alive. But to be able to be invested in and living out a life that you're proud of and that you can be committed to, and that it could stand up to integrity that you're not going to be resentful of. In other words, someone that may not necessarily agree with you would still be able to look at your life and not automatically discredit you for living a different way, but could see the essence and the value of how you're choosing to spend your time. From this, catalyst can become a change either in mindset or in activities. So what I mean by mindset, if we use my example of knee issues, how do I think about my knees differently? What can I do about my knees? Or how am I going to go about my life accommodating my knees? And quite honestly, if you want my answer, it's a little bit of all three. It takes a while to figure out the right match. Like if it was a wardrobe or what you're going to wear in clothing, getting the right parts to fit together, but thinking through, does this change my big vision? And it may not change the big vision, but it may change the building blocks that form that big vision on how I'm living out my life. There's mobility aids, like using a wheelchair. There's reacher grabbers. That's kind of like a prosthetic arm that you squeeze a handle and it forms a grasp onto whatever is in the handle's reach. It's just a different way of living life. And I understand that physical needs dictate how you live out your life. Like, you're not going to go climb Mount Everest if you're me. But it doesn't change maybe that you want to do something with your life that is worthwhile beyond your immediate self, but that you've contributed and given back to the people that are around you. In terms of thinking about it differently, part of that would be to accept what's going on. And if you accept what's going on, then you can address it. Whereas if you're in denial, then it's going to sort of sit there and fester and periodically make you really frustrated. And then take some time to work through it. But as you develop a skill set, it gets easier to figure out how you're going to do the very basic tasks of life. Like, for example, how you're going to have a bath or wash your hair. So I just use that as an example that I think that most people could relate to it. What I'm really getting at is being really, really good at who you are as a person. That is, you're not being what someone else wants you to be, and you're not being someone else's puppet, but you're following through on your convictions, your passions, religion, and what gets you out of bed in the morning, and then staying true to that. Although, if I'm honest with you, I think part of life is challenging your core so that it keeps getting refined and that you're able to really, focus in on and be confident in who you are. And it may take some work. Like, I've seen people that when they're a child being repeatedly told you'll never grow up into anything, you're a waste of space, and all kinds of negative messages. It takes a while to sort of let negative messages wash off you and still have the will to go on in life. But if you can do that, it helps you and forms your character, and you can use the past experiences in knowing what to say to someone else when they're in a similar circumstance. And the final part of this is not being pulled in multiple directions at the same time. So sort of like if there's a 5-way tug of war happening in your life, thinking through, it may be a pro-con chart, very logically, what are you passionate about? What is it that you're going to pursue? What this kind of reminds me of is the childhood books I used to read that were choose your own adventure. And if you're going to do plan A, you'd turn to page 70, and plan B may be to turn to page 90. We aren't robots and we have time to think. And so it's important to be invested in how you're living out your life, or talking to your core group of friends and with their feedback and using them as a sounding board, figuring out how you're going to pursue and what it is worthwhile pursuing. So a practical example of this may be a second career and how you're earning your money. That could be stemming from where you're not happy in your current job. Or maybe you've realized that you want to live somewhere else and you're sort of feeling that life is more, you've got friends in maybe another community where you're thinking about moving there but being pulled to the community where you're currently living. It's just something to think through, that you're going in one solid direction and addressing the other needs in life that have come up. And quite honestly, that's kind of how the past few weeks for me have felt as I've tried to figure out what is best for me, thinking through pros and cons, personal preferences, and sort of each time it kind of refines to a narrower point until you end up with one direction that you're going to go in. Anyway, this is what I've been thinking about. I hope that the part you needed today grabbed your attention and could help motivate you in your life. Thanks for this time that you spent with me today. Bye for now.